Hello and welcome to the second episode of If Supr Says It. Today I am joined by the newest, or I guess one of the newest members of XSet, Kyno. How you doing, Kyno?
I'm doing great. How are you, Seth?
Well, it is my birthday, so I'm doing the same as always because technically days don't exist and you're only birthed once. So today I'm 1 year old again.
19.
Yep.
Finally, huh?
Yep, I'm digging the like the aesthetic you got, like the set on the walls, like very,
Yeah, this
very
looks pretty cool.
yeah, it's very nice. If you notice, this is where we play from, and I have a fridge with stickers behind me. So,
That's cool.
yeah, I mean, not exactly like a giant like Sonic swirl painted on the wall, but I guess technically a fridge has like more use.
Yeah, at least you have cold water behind you.
It's actually room temperature, unfortunately. I don't have room because I have like a lot of uncrustables in there. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, so I thought we would start today, and we have you for about an hour and 15 minutes, and kind of work from now backwards. So basically, start with XSet, then OXG, and then before that. So kind of
Alright.
because I think people probably care most about um and let me turn you up. They say you're quiet. Okay, there we go. Scuffed. Good enough. Okay, should be louder. But yeah, so I think we'll start with XSet and then work backwards because I think people are probably most interested in the XSet situation.
Fair enough.
So, obviously, I think a week or two ago, you were announced as one of the newest members from XSet, joining Yaga, who was obviously your teammate on Oxygen. And then Gomez and Diaz, who I believed you played with in Challenger League, and Spirits, who came over from Parabellum. So for the five of you, it's a completely new team, and some of you have played together before, some of you haven't. And then obviously we know XSet also brought over a coach and I believe an analyst as well from Brazil. So I just would like you've been scrimming now for a little while, I assume. So I just would like your initial impressions of the team and the what Bodega is trying to, put forward for the team going into this season.
Mhm. So this roster has a lot of talent. Like if you on paper, if you look at the team, like all five players have the talent is needed for pro league. You just gotta like find the structure, team play, chemistry, whatever. Um, we're just like right now we're focusing on the basics pretty much. So everything I just said, team play. And Bodega has a lot of experience. Like you can call him dumb or whatever, which or on Twitter he is. That's fair enough. But he has a lot of experience. Viva's also our assistant coach. He knows also a lot. Came from Brazil, and we're just trying to like adapt, like the kind of like the Brazilian play style with like adaptations mid rounds, focusing on adaptations, looking for gaps, and also like NA structured. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Right now, I kind of feel like the team is doing pretty well, better than
Mhm.
I expected.
Yeah, and with Bodega, obviously on Twitter, maybe he doesn't come across as the brightest individual, but
Mm.
coming from Brazil, he did have a team that was very successful in MIBR. I think he had a third place finish at the last Invitational. Obviously, at this Invitational, without him, they also placed very high. So I guess it remains to be seen how much of an impact he had on that, or maybe they're just so used to like the structure that he kind of put over there that they just carry on without him. So with the team, as you said, you guys are kind of just looking for gaps in how you play. So I'm curious, what are the roles on your team right now? Because on paper, you would kind of say there's not really an IGL figure, there's not really a support figure. So how are you guys working on roles right now?
The roles are I'm on hard support, Diaz on second support or flank watch, depending on the map. Yag is on flex, Spirits and Gomez are the main entries. And
Hmm.
then for the IGL role, it's like I pretty much call the pushes, but then in the middle of the round, we have five IGLs. So like all of us are like talking and like looking for gaps and like seeing what we can do in the middle of the round.
Do you ever find that to be an issue, or is it something that you're kind of getting used to? Because I think even on teams where there's not necessarily an IGL per se, there's usually like a main voice, like a person who just noticeably maybe talks more than the other people, or a person who, like, if they say something, that's kind of what's going to happen. Are you guys operating on something like that, or is it literally just if somebody has like a play, you guys just, kind of say fuck it and that's the play you're going with?
Hmm. So I'm kind of the main voice. So if I'm calling a play, everybody's trusting me. But if I don't know what to do in the middle of the round and someone else has an idea, then we're all gonna follow it. Like
Hmm.
we all trust each other.
Okay. And so going back to what you said with Bodega kind of trying to bring a little bit of a Brazilian philosophy to NA while also not losing, I think, the structure that makes NA and pretty successful at the last Invitational. What would you say is like the biggest difference for you as a player kind of going into that system from what you've traditionally been playing with in North America?
I think at least on Oishi, we were pretty like straightforward. So like we only had a few pushes and we didn't even like change the pushes in between the round. It was like really rare. Like Fox are really good IGL,
Hmm.
but like our adaptations were really weak on that team, at least when I was there. Hopefully they're working on that. And that's mainly what we're focusing on, adaptations.
Yeah, I think that was kind of honestly the strength of our team is you kind of have an idea of what we may do, but you also know that we potentially could just do something completely random. And I think being unpredictable can obviously give you big advantages because it makes your opponent feel a little bit uneasy as well. So I definitely think being more loose rather than kind of, you go here, you go there is definitely the way, just the way the game has progressed at this point. So,
Hmm.
if that's something that you guys are able to do successfully, I definitely think that will work in your favor. And so, going to your teammates who you've already mentioned, and we've already kind of discussed their roles. Everybody might not be that familiar with your teammates because obviously Spirits was in Challenger League last year, and he may be somewhat more known just because Parabellum have been in the spotlight a little bit. They have played at Invitational. Gomez and Diaz were in Challenger League last year, and then obviously people are probably more familiar with Yaga. So if you can kind of give me just a player by player rundown, what you think they do best, what to look at, for them, if we're watching Gomez, what do you think his strengths are? Diaz, and just so the fans, the people listening, going into this new year with XSet, kind of have an idea of what to expect out of each one of you.
Yeah, so I mean, pretty everybody pretty much know Yag. He was my teammate on Oishi. I think he's the best team I've ever had. He's always taking criticism. Like he listens to everybody. He's always a good player trying to improve. Just the best. And I think Diaz is like one of the best like 1vx players I've ever seen. I don't know how he's so calm in 1vx's. I've never seen that before. People might call him a baiter sometimes. He's like a really passive player, but like on our team right now, we have like four really aggressive players, including myself on a support role. So like having Diaz, not baiting, but like on the back line, it sometimes like it might be really helpful.
I think
Uh,
sorry to interrupt, but I just something you said there like kind of is interesting to me is like when I initially heard that this was going to be a team and that you guys were trying to play more of a Brazilian play style. Honestly, Diaz is the one who's like it was a big question for me because when you think of like Brazilian play style and even us obviously playing against them and you have too, there's just like kind of a lot of like balls to the wall, like just relentless aggression. Like you kill one person, a second person's coming. You kill that guy, a third person's coming. For DS to me is, I definitely agree with you. Like obviously my experiences with DS are literally FPL or like watching Challenger League, but I do feel like he is very good position wise in like late round situations. He kind of obviously I'm not saying he's like at that level, but in a way it reminds me of Grixer, where Grixer's like his positioning is like insane. Like I think people have like a misconception because I was reading like something on Reddit and it's like who are the best mechanical players, and everybody was saying Grixer. And Pablo has really good aim, but he's not like he would tell you himself, like he's not Rexen or something like mechanically. He just like probably has the best positioning in the game and he uses that like to his advantage. And I think Diaz, like obviously maybe not on that level, but he has really good positioning. So you don't feel like the passiveness that Diaz is bringing is like kind of a hindrance on the style you're trying to play more aggressive, or do you feel like that's kind of like that meshes well with the aggressiveness to kind of have somebody who's maybe a little more patient in terms of just kind of full sending it?
That was like something I was worried about in the beginning when we formed this roster, but it's something that's honestly been really helpful. On defense, he's like pretty much our main anchor. He's always like on side, on inside, but like one of those good guns like Cade, for example, with the 1.5. And on attack, if he's like flank watching, he's always got our back. Like we can do whatever. We can play aggressive if we want, and we know our flanks are covered because Diaz is there. And then like hitting the back whenever he actually like needs to. Like
Hmm.
I think it really helps if you have like four really aggressive players and one passive player. I think like it meshes well.
Yeah, I know you said that you were going to be on hard support, but I actually always thought for a while that DS is like way to pro league would to kind of become a support player because he has like really good aim, but he's so patient that I felt like, or so passive really, that I felt like him playing breach or him playing smoke or something would probably long term benefit him. So I am interested to kind of see how that goes, knowing that he's not necessarily on those like more support roles. And then for Spirits and Gomez, what's going on with them?
Um, Gomez was the first person I've ever met on PC. He was the guy that like helped me like form teams when I was underage. So he was like my how would I explain that? Like he was the first person I met,
Hmm.
whatever. And then when I left the favelas Jolton team, he took my spot and I was just like that was the only pretty much the only experience I have like just watching him. And looks like a really good player, like his mechanics are crazy. Like
Hmm.
he's a really smart player. He knows exactly what to do and when to do it. So I think he's just like a really he's like really complete. He has like everything a pro league player needs to be playing at this level. I think he's just like lacking a little bit of experience, but that's something you gain with like time. So
Yeah, right.
I think he'll be ready with time when the NAL starts.
Yeah, for Gomez, I remember he kind of came out of nowhere a little bit where I think he was I don't know if he still does anymore, but I think he was like pretty big into YouTubing or like content. And then I remember he was just like randomly in FPL and he just looked like crazy on Ash and stuff like that. Like mechanically he was like insane. And I think everybody expected like big things out of him in Challenger League. And I'm not sure in Challenger League he exactly was like lighting the world on fire. Like I think his team was good, but him personally, he wasn't necessarily like going crazy stat wise. And obviously, there's stats. There's more to it than that. Um,
Hmm.
but I am interested to see kind of how he translates to pro league, just based off of the fact that he is mechanically gifted, but it's not necessarily something that's exactly 100% translated to comp. And playing with better players or maybe playing within a better structure might help him or possibly hurt him. Even I guess we'll see there.
I think but that guy's like teaching him a lot. Like he's giving him enough experience that he'll be ready whenever the time comes. And I
Mhm.
think Gomez knows what he's doing. Like he's a good player. Stage 1 and 2 of CL, he was kind of quiet, but then stage 3 he really showed up. He made it to the finals, split against Parabellum, and they ended up losing, which is Spirit's team.
Yeah.
Talk about a little bit of experience now. That guy, he was he was like pretty much the star of Parabellum. Like his stats were incredible in Parabellum. Like he was the one shining. Um, Spirits is like I think he's like so dumb that like helps him. Like
Okay.
he's so dumb that he's smart. Like he knows when to make the dumb decisions. You know what I'm saying? Like he knows when to like take something that the other team, like, he knows when to find the gaps, and that like really helps him, and like really helps us.
So he's kind of
And like
like
his aim,
fearless or something, right? Like a true entry. He's just fearless to like
he's a
do
true
whatever.
entry when he has to be an entry, yeah.
Yeah.
And when he has to stay alive, he's alive. So like I think that really helps us. Like he's pretty much our main entry. Gomez our second entry.
Yeah, I
Um,
wonder if he would take that as a compliment that he's so dumb that he's smart.
I think it would. It would, to be honest.
Okay.
And he, I think right now he's like the main piece of our team.
Yeah,
He's
I was gonna say, I actually think obviously you guys getting him is great, but I actually think he was like a huge loss for Parabellum because obviously I think they're in Rainbow Six. There's not like a hard carry. It's very much a team game. Like there's not somebody who's just like if somebody's doing really good, usually it's because the team is like kind of doing things around them. But he really did seem like a very close to being like a pretty hard carry for Parabellum. Like he was always like dropping huge numbers. I remember we scrimmed them one time and it was like on bank and I think we even won the map, but he had like 20 kills and then like the rest of his team had like 5. And we were like, just kill this guy and we win. Like none of the other guys can't kill you. So I'm actually very interested to see how he does because he has had good invitational performances and he's been a standout player. So I think he was like a huge acquisition for your team. And the fact that you guys or that XSet was able to kind of get him just for nothing, it seems like, is a little puzzling to me from Parabellum. But, you know, props to them for being dumb, I guess. I don't know how to put that.
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Spirits is like entry engagements are after for now, at least in scrims. He's always like making the space we need. Like every single round, he's making the space we need.
Mm-hmm.
Even the rounds we lose.
So now that we know a little bit about your team, I kind of have a couple of questions because, um, so with this roster that you guys have, I had actually heard the Yaga part was kind of off and on, but I had heard that this was something in the works for a month or two, even before Invitational happened. Like that, this was that I had heard. I think I had heard like right after NAL finals, basically where XSet was relegated in January sometime, like maybe late January, that people were saying you were already going to join XSet and you were going to join DS and Gomez on XSet, which I thought was obviously kind of interesting because you were on OXG going to Invitational. So my question for you, I guess, is how long was this roster in the works? Like how long were you planning on this happening? Did you go into Invitational knowing you were leaving? And if you did that kind of affect your mindset at all? Like how did this kind of come about?
So like a month-ish before SI, Gomez hit me up, and it was like, I have an offer.
Hmm.
Uh, Me, Bodegas, and Diaz are forming a team, and we're gonna take the exit. We're gonna take exit as a 10 spot. And I was like, interesting. That seems like a solid roster that I played before, so like I know they're like good players, but I don't know if I want to leave right now. So like it was an interesting offer, but I didn't want to make decisions that early because I had a side right up ahead of us,
All right.
and I was on a solid team on Oaktree. And then after SI is when I actually made the decision, or like right before SI, we were still like talking about the team. If I left OXG, what would be the roster? Because we only had myself, Diaz, and Gomez, and we needed 2 extra players. And then the first name Gomez said was Spirits, and the first name I said was Yogg. And we all agreed that that roster would be good if it actually happened. So that, and then it was there, like we didn't talk about it for a long time. And meanwhile, they were like pretty sure they were trying out other players. They tried out Brazier. Um, I don't know who else, but they were thinking about other players as well. And then after SI, I decided to join them, Yogg included. I think OXG is a really good team. Always gonna be like top 4 NA, top 6, top 8 invite. But like with their adaptations, at least when I was on the team, it's an unmoldable team because like all of them have like their own play styles and they can't really change, you know. I mean, kind of you can kind of include myself and Yag on that because we're on a team that is unmoldable. We can't be moldable as well. Like we were in the beginning, stage 1, stage 2, and then I think everybody lost like the hunger to win,
Hmm.
and we were like comfortable where we were. So I don't think that team would ever win anything. At least with me and Yag on the team, maybe Dream and Norris can change that. Maybe they can get the hunger back. You know, maybe they can grind again. But I think OX or XS, sorry, is a team that long term could prove everybody wrong. You know, long term it could be a better option.
So obviously, you said you kind of had discussions heading into Invite about potentially leaving. Did that kind of was that on your mind at all? Did that kind of was that did that affect you at all? I guess at Invitational, knowing that this is potentially the last time you play with Fox and Lax and Vert, or was it not really something? Because in the moment, obviously, you're focused on Invite. Was it not really something that you thought about?
It was just in the back of my mind, but it wasn't like my main priority was win invite with OXG, stay on this team, become the best in the world. You know, that was my main priority right there, right now.
Hmm.
But we couldn't make it happen. So
Yeah, and I feel like that's very interesting, honestly, that you weren't necessarily 100% leaving, but this was something that was discussed like a while before Invitational. Because as far as I know, Fox and Lax had like no idea really that you were planning on leaving until you told them. Is that correct?
Fox knew,
Hmm.
but like we didn't want to exactly because we weren't leaving. So I don't want to tell anybody that I could possibly be leaving the team if it wasn't even true. You know, like I didn't even make a decision. It was just something that it was out there. But what I really wanted is for us to have like a really good performance at SI and for the team to change, so I could stay on OXG. That was like my main goal.
And then for OXG, the only thing you thought that needed to change really was that you felt like you didn't adapt that well, or were there other things that you were hoping would change? I guess on the team.
I mean, I feel like every team has multiple issues.
Hmm.
I think our adaptations mid round were it was our biggest issue, and like Fox, Slacks, and Ver have been playing the game since like year one pretty much.
Yeah.
I think like they have their own play styles, and it's not something that like fits me and Yog anymore. I think we're always trying to like learn and adapt to the new metas, but they were kind of like wanting to like stay behind, if that makes sense. As soon as like we won stage one, I don't know how to explain this that well, but like we won stage one and then everybody like lost their hunger to like win. So everybody just like stayed behind. We didn't like update our meta, and that kind of like put us behind the curve. Like we were just behind everybody
Yeah,
else.
stage two, OXG had a unusually bad placing, and then stage three, you guys placed pretty high again, I believe.
Yeah, we placed second stage three.
Hmm.
Um, I think like we just didn't like go with the meta, you know, like we didn't update our play styles and how we were playing the game.
I think we can use that to kind of transition over to XSET. I do think you said some very interesting things, or sorry, not to XSET, but to OXG. I do think you said some very interesting things about XSET, especially in my opinion, the fact that Gomez was kind of contacting you about XSET while you were still on OXG before Invitational even happened. I feel like that personally, if like obviously everybody's their own person, everybody's their own team, but personally, if somebody from another team like reached out to one of my players and was hey, we're starting this team and we'd like you to be on it, like a month before Invitational while you're still on my team, I probably wouldn't be the nicest guy about that, and everybody knows I'm extremely nice, so that would be like uncharacteristic from me to be mean. So yeah, that would probably irk me a little bit. But that's you didn't have a problem with it. Seems like OXG didn't have a problem with it, so it worked out. But kind of going into OXG, you've kind of said that the team like really kind of struggled to adapt, and there were issues that maybe you felt like you just kind of were ready to move on, maybe. And the question I would have for you is, and in a way, it's like a statement, but obviously you came into Pro League out of Challenger League, and so did Yogg, and neither of your teams were particularly like strong in CL. Like, you guys were good teams, but you weren't like, I would say it would be safe to say neither of you were on teams that were really in contention to win Challenger League.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like in a way you're maybe underestimating how easy you kind of had it going to OXG? Because like you said, OXG is a team that for 3-4 years now has been consistently top 4 or around that area in NA. Fox Lax Vert Core has been pretty consistent and placing well in NA, and even at invitationals. And even before you, when they had Bio and Slash, who didn't exactly work out, they were still placing very high. So I guess my question to you is like, do you feel like you could be underestimating how easy it was for you to transition to Pro League because you were on that team rather than, say, joining like a new Mirage team? Or do you feel like you're kind of like, you and Yogg in a way were part of the reason that success like continues, I guess is how I would put it.
I think, yeah, I agree with you. Like, I joined a really good team, a really like established team with like really good staff on Redeem and Hopes as well, who knew exactly what they were doing. I think stage one, or like the whole season, like we had like solid performance with like first, second, and then sixth. Because like new blood, me and Yogg, we were there. Just everybody wanted to win again when we joined the team. I don't specifically think uh we made like OXG win. I think OXG won because like we were all doing good. So like um I think OXG, I mean, I was like really lucky to get that offer because first of all they wanted Gomez. Gomez had
Right. And
visa issues,
yeah, exactly.
so he couldn't go, and he recommended me. I tried out, and they decided to pick me up, which was like really lucky. They literally made my career. Like, I literally cannot thank him enough. And I think they are always gonna be like a top 4 team, always gonna be a like top 6 invite team, always gonna be that.
Hmm.
Maybe one day they're gonna win. Maybe Newers and Dream are the pieces they needed. But I think we did good because Yogg and I were like new, we were moldable, like we did good, everybody did good. But then I don't think we were like the key pieces for that team. I think maybe Newers and Dream might do better.
Yeah, you kind of said something interesting there, which again I feel like is very you could be right and you could be wrong. But
Mhm.
when you say like, even without you, or even like with you guys, OXG will still be a top 4 team in the region. OXG will still be a top 6, top 8 invite team. And I feel like you're kind of saying that in a way that it's just like, oh, that's pretty easy. When in reality, it's like people play their
It's
whole
not.
careers and never place top 4. People play their whole careers and never make invitational. So, do you feel like on your new XSet team that you guys can, I guess, outdo that performance? Like, do you feel like this is a team that has higher potential than OXG? And if so, how, like, what kind of is your timetable for reaching that potential? Like, do you see you guys just being better than OXG immediately? Do you see this kind of being a little bit of a project? Because I'm a little bit of an old head, obviously, so I probably, just stating my bias, I think that leaving a team that you feel like is pretty much a lock to be top 4 in your region and then leaving a team that you pretty much think is a top 8 lock at invite is like extremely risky, especially for somebody who's only played on that team in Pro League.
Yep.
And the reason I say that is, metas change and things can help or hurt your team, right? Just depending on where the meta's at. So it's not always going to stay the same. But OXG have kind of managed to stay pretty consistent. Whether they're winning or not, at least they're getting there, so they have the chance to win. The first thing you need to do to have a chance to win any of these big tournaments is qualify, right? So if you're never qualifying, then you won't have a chance. And if you qualify every time, eventually kind of like luck will run your way, and maybe that's the tournament that kind of works out for you. Maybe you get favorable matchups, maybe the bracket works out for you, whatever it may be. So going back to what I was asking is, do you feel like XSet has higher potential than OXG's roster does? And do you think XSet right now is better than OXG, or do you think XSet will be better than OXG? And if so, what's the kind of timetable for that?
We're looking for something long term. Like if I said XSet was better than OXG right now, I'd be lying.
Right.
And like people know that. Is there a chance to place top 4? Yeah, it's out there. There's a chance. So like there is a chance, but like it's rare. We're a brand new team. I'm teaming with like 4 people who like pretty much never played competitive. Like I mean, you have Yog, myself, but that's all. It's a risk. It's a really big risk that I took it, and I think long term it could pay off. Long term we could be a really good team, a really good roster. Maybe if we get the enough experience, one day we might be like playing with the top teams. So I think like everybody on this team is ready to win. Everybody on this team is like wants to win so bad. That's literally all we want. And everybody here is taking criticism. Everybody's moldable. So I think long term it could pay off.
So in a way, essentially, you're risking leaving the short-term consistency of OXG for a team that you think could potentially win something down the road, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, because all I want to do is win, and
Right.
I
Yeah.
think OXG with that roster, I don't think we'd have won anything. I think I'm not roasting OXG. I'm not um saying anything bad about them. I think maybe with Dream and Noors, they're gonna be a better team, and they might. Maybe they're the best fit for that team, and maybe they might win something now. But I don't think with the roster with me and Yag would have won anything. It was always gonna be like a solid roster, top 4, whatever, but not win anything. I think with the XSet roster, one day that time might come. Like maybe in like 1-2 years, we might be playing with the top teams.
Again, I think I keep kind of like circling around this, but so with XSet, you say maybe in 1 to 2 years you can be playing with the top teams, where right now on OXG you'd be playing with the top teams. And generally teams don't, like, if you join a team, that team doesn't usually like immediately win something, right? Progressively you kind of tend to get better. Like even for the Sonics, I think the fact that we won like NAL is pretty big, just because that's like a really short turnaround to like, kind of have that kind of accomplishment.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like for you on OXG, if you look at TSM, they were a team that wasn't necessarily winning, right? They had really high placings at Invite, but they hadn't won since DreamHack, right? And the only other thing they won was like the regional online major, I think it was, or something like that, right? But internationally, but internationally, it took that core 3 years to win something. The NIP roster that won Invite, that core has been together for 4 or 5 years, right? So in a way, I think like you on OXG, you're joining a core that is already like, even as you've stated, top 4, top 5, and you only get like a year, and it's not like you guys were like awful. You had 2 really high placings at Invite. you just don't think that another year, another 2 years gives you that potential to win? Because that's what you're saying in terms of XSET, where you have that extra, 1 to 2 years, maybe you guys could win something. You don't think that was possible in OXG?
I think the issues on OXG were bigger. Inkman, including myself, I think like I was part of the issue.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know. I think everybody got comfortable, like nobody wanted to win anymore. The passion was not there. So I don't know. Maybe if we regained that with time, maybe we had a chance. But not yet.
You think in terms of passion, could that be because obviously the OXG players are more veteran, and on XSET, all of you are like obviously much newer in terms of Pro League, and it's, in a way you just feel more, I guess, hungry to kind of prove yourselves?
I'm not sure because I got comfortable as well. Like y'all did as well. Like we all did. All five of us, we all did. You know. So
Mm.
that's an issue we all had. Um, and I don't know. It was just something we just couldn't fix.
So if it's something you can't fix, and you feel like even for you and Yogg, two kind of newer players, that you are feeling it, is it? You think it's just like an environment issue on OXG? What do you think it like? Because just saying like it just wasn't. We just weren't, hungry or whatever. Like, was there a specific reason for it? Is it just the environment? Like, what was going on with the OXG roster that kind of, I guess, made it feel like that?
I guess it was. You can say it was environment. Like we won stage one, and then everybody was just okay. We won stage one. Now we can just chill. We don't have to do anything else. I guess you can say it was that. But yeah. I mean, you can put the blame on Yogg and me as well, because I'm not blaming the other three. Like it was all of us. It was a group
Yeah.
issue.
No. Yeah. I mean, I definitely think there's like some questions that remain unanswered in terms of that. But at the end of the day, if you feel like you have a better chance at winning on your new team than your past team, then I don't think anybody can blame you for taking the risk. I just think it's, obviously a huge risk taken by you.
Yeah, you can call it dumb. It could be, but long term, I think it could pay off. And like I honestly just needed like a breath of fresh air.
Mhm.
I needed something new. I needed to like try something else.
Do you feel like playing, on XSET, you're kind of surrounded by, you mentioned Gomez is, you've known him longer than everybody else. Um, and I know you're pretty good friends with like the guys on XSET. Do you feel like just playing in a environment where you're more comfortable with the players, like, you're friends with them beyond just playing with them, that kind of helps?
Yeah, I think that definitely helps. I know she at least Lex and Vert don't they didn't live with us. They live in separate apartments, and even like for scrims they wouldn't be there. So it was just me, Fox, and Yogg the whole time. I consider Fox pretty much my big brother. He is part of my family now. But I think not having those two like living with us kind of made it like not like a whole family. Makes sense. And now here we have all five players, and both the coaches living with us. Viva's not here now because he's in Brazil fixing his visa. But
Hmm.
we're supposed to have all seven of us, so we're always gonna be together. Chemistry is always gonna be like on point, and I think that helps.
Yeah, I definitely think like being in the same house, that kind of thing helps from a team bonding.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think you have to live together. I do think, at least practicing in the same room and things like that could probably be beneficial. Because like right now, for instance, on Beast Coast, I think they all have apartments. I know Evil Geniuses in the past, and like when I was on Rogue, we had apartments, so we weren't all necessarily living together. But we did practice together. So, obviously everybody has their own preference, but I do find that interesting that at least they wouldn't come over for kind of scrims, at least, and because you can also talk in person and stuff like that. Did that kind of make it? Was that like a little awkward for you to just, you're fist bumping and there's just three people there?
Uh, I mean, on the beginning, yeah, it was a little awkward because we didn't even sit in the same order
Hmm.
as we do in stage, because like
Yeah.
there's no point, like nobody's there. Like we had only 3 people there. But I would definitely say I was closer to Fox and Yogg than I was to Lex and Verb, because of that. Um, so I don't know. Maybe it was like a chemistry team bonding issue.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, to me, it just kind of sounds like you're looking for more from a team in terms of like friendship and the bonding aspect than probably what they're used to, or what a lot of teams even are, because like you said, now you're kind of playing with people you're more friendly with, and on OXG you didn't necessarily know them that well. um so I think it's, people are going to say, especially after this, the XSet's kind of just like a friendship team,
Yep,
which in a way maybe it is. Maybe you guys all did join together because you're
it
friends,
is.
but yeah, but it's not like it's just I mean, coincidentally enough, like the past XSet roster, where people were also saying that was a friendship team. I do think your team obviously has like very talented players on it. Do you feel like, I guess, kind of the pressure of people saying this is a friendship team, the pressure of you and Yogg leaving OXG for an unknown, is going to be something that could impact your performance? Because I mean, there's going to be a lot of eyes on you to, kind of, if you guys start off bad or something, do you think is this a team that can kind of handle the mental aspect of that, or is it going to start, getting to you guys a little bit?
Um, I can handle it. I know I can handle it. And then if we like start losing and like people start like talking about it, like I would just like have a talk with the team. I don't think that's gonna be an issue. You can say I left a good team for a team of friends, which is true. I did. But like we didn't pick the players because they were our friends. It just ended up like being the same circle as us, if that makes sense. I mean, Gomez picked me because he knew me and like he knew I was like talented, could play support, and they needed a support player. So it just ended up like it just ended up being a team of friends. But that wasn't the main point. That wasn't what Gomez wanted. But well, I don't know if we start losing. I know in my head I want to do this long term, so it might happen. If we
Yeah,
start losing, I'm just gonna have to handle it.
and because you've said that this is a team that is kind of a longer term project, but I'm going to assume that XSet have invested a lot of money into this team because they had to buy their license back into the league. I assume they had to buy out you and Yaga. They brought Bodega over from Brazil, and they're bringing a Brazilian analyst who's, they're helping get a visa, I'm sure. And maybe they helped Gomez with his visa, because I know you said before he originally couldn't join OXG because of his visa. Do you feel like the amount of money that XSet is potentially spending on this team is an issue, or not necessarily an issue, but is that pressure going to be on you? Have you talked to, I think Marco is the owner, or the person in charge of at least Rainbow Six for XSet, kind of about what their expectations are for your team?
Yeah, yeah, we talked about it. They want to do something long term as well. That was their main plan. They don't want us to make any roster moves for like a year at least. They want something. Um, they want this team to be together for the longest time possible, so we can uh try to do something long term. Maybe win something one day.
So the team you have right now, the five guys you have, this is pretty much just going to be your team for 2022, regardless of, you know, if you guys do kind of falter and struggle. You're just going to stick it out and hope it kind of corrects itself.
Chances are really high, yes. I think Bodega's been helping us a lot, a lot, a lot with that, and I honestly think it's gonna pay off. I think we might shock everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly wouldn't say that it's impossible. I think you guys have a really talented team. And if the org is committing to kind of say, no matter what happens, this is the five that that are going to be on the team this year, that does kind of remove some pressure because obviously some people can be playing to avoid being dropped, and that puts like a weird pressure on you, especially for Gomez, Diaz, and Spirits, unproven Pro League players. So I think that's like pretty commendable from XSet, especially coming from a situation where they were already relegated out of the league once. I'm sure they don't want that to happen again, and I don't think your team it will be in that position. I kind of just had a couple questions. So obviously you said earlier that the OXG roster originally wanted to pick up Gomez, and they weren't able to, and Gomez kind of suggested you to OXG, and they tried you out and ended up picking you up. Do you feel like, or did you feel like you kind of owed something to OXG for giving you that chance? Because I mean, I obviously have no idea. Were you getting any other Pro League offers or Pro League interest at that time?
At the time, I received 2 tryouts. One with Oakshi and one with Digi at the time. Digi was for NGR spot, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. So
And no, it was NGR and someone else. They had 2 spots available.
yeah, NJR was bought out by Dark Zero, and they dropped somebody, maybe the DP Fire spot.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think it was DP5. Was it? I don't remember. It was
Yeah.
a Digi tryout.
So did you feel like, you know, especially just the fact that you were kind of placed onto a nice or a pretty established team, did you kind of feel like you owed it to them in a way to stick it out with them? Or I guess clearly you didn't. Was that hard for you to just leave OXG because, you know, they did give you the chance, and like you said, at least in terms of Fox, you felt really close to him, but at the same time you also felt like Fox's style of like IGLing, as you said, was kind of holding the team back a little bit. How did that go? Was that like a difficult decision for you?
It was a really hard decision, yes. Um, I mean, they made my career. They made who I am today. You know, they gave me all the experience I have right now. They taught me pretty much everything I know about the game besides my mechanics.
Hmm.
So I think I owe 'em everything I have. And Gomez as well for giving me that chance. Um, and I don't think it's Fox IGLing that's the problem. I think it's just our adaptations made around, and I think it's something we just don't do. I don't think it's specifically Fox's fault. I think his IGLing is like pretty good, but like um we're just like committed to one push, you know, we're just committed to like one path instead of doing multiple paths like the Sonics do, for example. You know, instead of doing something completely different in the middle of the round because you saw something that could like help you, you know, like you saw a gap.
Well, and obviously I get, you know, you're really close with Fox, and I feel like you're kind of and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but I feel like in a way you're kind of like passively aggressively roasting Fox without trying to roast Fox, because you're saying, you know, you're saying Fox is a good IGL, Fox is the IGL, but then at the same time you're saying the team didn't adapt, and that's why you thought that the team couldn't win, and that the team was like complacent after doing well in stage 1, and that it was the environment. So I feel like, you know, you're saying somebody's good IGL, but then saying the issue on the team was that you don't adapt. You see what I'm saying? Like in a way,
I get it,
it's
because
like related, right?
you're saying that's like the IGL's job, you know, like to make the adaptations and like to
It's
guide the
not.
team
Yeah,
mid round.
I wouldn't say it's like 100% the IGL's job, because the other people on the team obviously can notice things and help out an IGL or make a call there. But adaptations is the IGL's job. If the whole and obviously I've never played with Fox or with anybody on your team, but if the idea of IGLing is before the round you call a take, right? And then that's the take you do no matter what's happening. That's not really IGLing. Is that what Fox was doing? Or is it just like in the middle of the round, nobody was helping Fox understand what's going on with anything else? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, he did have no help pretty much. Like, Vert was the person who was always like trying to help the most, but like Yogg, Lex, and we kind of like didn't help at all with like the pushes. We would just like listen. But I think like the macro of the push was there. Like we were doing like the Fox called the push in the beginning of the round. Like we would do that push, but like we would change small details in between the push. But like for example, clubhouse, if we call like a split push for CC, we would do a split push. You know, it's like if we see, we wouldn't like change the push. We would change like small details around the push.
Mhm.
But like completely changing the push, we wouldn't do that at all. You know, like trying something completely different, we wouldn't try that.
So you, if you think this is an issue that like obvious that you and Yogg kind of shared with Lax, and I will say Lax for your team is primarily more of like a flank watch player. So a lot of time he's not really going to be in a position to call something like that. He's
Oh
not
yeah.
seeing the map. Is this something that you're like, because you said on XSet now, it's kind of you guys are just looking for free space and trying to call adaptations, and you said even you're kind of the main voice. Is that something you're like really working on in terms of being able to communicate in the middle of rounds what's going on?
Yeah, I think that's what I've been working on recently. I think that because that was the main issue in Oaktree, I think I'm putting like extra effort on being like the best at doing this stuff. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not the best at GL. That's why I have all four of them helping me in the middle of the round, you know. So it's easier. But like that's something we never talked about on Oaktree. Like when New Fox was the GL, but we never talked about, oh, let's all like let's all be the IGLs, all five of us, you know, let's all help with the push and stuff like that. It was just something like that happened natural, but which didn't have.
You think on OXG the reason that was is because that's just been the way the team was forever, and it wasn't really something that needed to be said? Is that Fox is the IGL, everybody else just does their job, and that's how you do it?
Yeah, I think so. I think they've been a really good team with that mentality and that playstyle for so long that like, you know, it just works for them. I 100% think that they're gonna change it now with the new two players because like right before I left the team, we talked about it. We talked about like every issue we had, and I honestly think they're gonna work on it and like change how they play. But that could be just me.
Would it surprise? And obviously, when I say this, it doesn't speak towards international tournaments because I don't have that information readily available. But would it surprise you to know that OXG within NA was the second best attacking team?
Yeah, I mean I know, but like our attacks are really good. Like we always convert opening kills in rounds. We have uh really high statistics on that. But
Yeah. So I guess the question I'd have for you is, if a lot of the issues you had was that OXG doesn't adapt on attack, but OXG was at the same time the second most effective. The top three NA attacking teams are Sonics, OXG, and SSG. And um and the Sonics are the fastest, but obviously that doesn't necessarily mean they're the best. So I guess my question is, if you have such an issue with the adaptations that was going on with OXG, but the team was still the second best attacking team in the region, is there something like I guess I'd say what is the issue, right? Like I definitely understand adapting, right? But adapting to adapt is like shooting yourself in the foot. Like if it's working, you don't need to change it. For instance, we could use Empire as an example. They are a team that doesn't really adapt, right? They have very practiced pushes. They do things a very specific way. Very rarely will they do something completely spontaneous or random, right?
mm,
I'm not saying OXG are on the level of Empire precision on attacking, but that, just having a straightforward attack is clearly something that was working for OXG and can work internationally, as we see.
yeah,
So I
I
guess
just
like
think
what's your thinking with that?
I think we were losing like multiple really important attacks that like shouldn't be we shouldn't be losing. For example, in really important games, you can against them IBR, against them on the problem there were attacks on at the last SI, for example. We won the last game against them one, but I'm talking about the first one, the first best of 3. That game, the MIBR game and the phase game were purely on attacks. Our defenses were like fine. I mean, we lost to both teams, so like they weren't fine, but like they were better because we were working on them. But our attacks were not good at all. We got the opening kill so many of those rounds, and we just didn't win the rounds. So I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say I know Vert has even kind of said that he didn't play the best at Invite. Do you think that part of the reason probably the team just wasn't doing as well on attack is because Vert just had a poor event rather than like the attacks just not working? Because in NA, Vert was one of the higher rated players. Stage 3, obviously, I think he was second or third highest rated. So you could also kind of contribute maybe to the team struggling on attack to just your entry player having a poor event, though, right? Not necessarily the attacks just shitting the bed, I guess.
You could say that, but Vert was like he had a really unfortunate event.
Hmm.
But I was the main entry. 'Cause on 5 of 7 maps, I was the main entry. So I guess you could blame me for that,
Well,
for those attacks. I mean,
no, yeah, no, I don't think there's any blame. Honestly, I'm just trying to get to like just figure out the situation. Um, were you? I can't remember honestly, but so going from NAL to Invite, did you transition to the entry role, or were you playing that like stage 3 NAL finals already?
I played stage 3 in AL finals already on entry.
Okay.
I was playing Ash at the time.
Did you feel like you were more effective on that role, or I think stage 1 you were playing like Thermite and stuff like that? What did you feel like you were making more of a difference on?
So we only switched because we thought Fox would have a bigger impact on the IGL role, on the support role as well, instead of the flex. Even though like we see nowadays like flex players IGLing like Merc, for example, or Entry, whatever he's playing right now, I'm not sure. Um, we thought it was gonna be better if Fox was on IGL on playing support. So that's why we changed it up in the
Hmm.
first place. And then we decided to put like Yogg kind of on the flex role, Yogg and Vert kind of on the flex role, and put me on the entry because I don't really know like how to do vertical or whatever. I'm not the best at it,
Right, yeah.
like that. So I was playing entry, and it worked out for stage 3, and finals didn't really work, and like I had a few like good games SI. So like I don't know if it was like the best decision we ever made. Like right after winning stage 1, when I was on Thermite. So like I don't know if that helped us, if that hurted us.
So you guys made the change
So
after winning stage 1. So in a way, kind of, you went away from, I guess, what you might say is like a formula for success to kind of accommodate Fox a little bit more in terms of the IGLing role.
we changed the roles. It was mid stage 2, if I'm not mistaken. It was
Oh, after you
after we
guys
lost
kind
like
of
three,
struggled a
four
bit,
games in a
yeah.
row or something like that. Yeah, we struggled, and then we all talked about it, and we decided because Fox was on the AGL, we decided to put him on support. Or it was mainly his decision. He thought it was gonna be better for the team. So like he sacrificed his own role for the better good of the team. Um, like at that time, it paid off. Like we had a really good stage 3, but then long
Yeah, I
term, I
think,
don't know if
yeah,
it did. I think
definitely. Mhm.
I think Fox is better on the flex role than on the support role, and that's what they're doing right now. Fox is back on the flex role, and Dream is taking over the support role, and I'm pretty sure he's IGLing from flex.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
yeah, I think the OXG roster, for those who don't know, they picked up Dream from Mirage, and then Newers, who hasn't played Challenger League at all, but I think people see him as, a potential really good player coming out of T3, pretty much to fill Kyno's role on the entry, I think. So I think that will be interesting. And we're about up on an hour now, so I kind of just want to touch on a couple things. So moving us away from just like team specific things, looking at NAL this year. what's your general opinion on the league, some of the roster changes that have been made? What do you think about the league and what's happened?
I think this season is gonna be like the most unpredictable season we've ever had. So I kind of like the roster moves. It made the league more interesting. And
Mhm.
I really like if you ask me right now about a top four, I would say like the teams that come to my mind at first are TSM, SSG, Sonics. But then you think about it, who would take that for a spot? Like on the paper would be either like OXG, Dark Zero, um, like even like I think honestly even Beast Ghost is playing like it has a big, solid roster that could make the top four. And then you could argue we have a chance as well. Mirage, they made a lot of roster moves. I don't know how they're playing right now. Like on paper, I think Sonic, CSM, and SSG are like top three for sure. And then the rest of the teams, I have no idea where they're gonna place. Honestly, cannot tell you. So I think
Yeah.
it's making it really interesting.
No, it's definitely going to be a very competitive season or year, since we kind of do 3 seasons. Um, do you feel like was there any roster change within NA that kind of seemed, I guess, bad or very good to you? Like, was there one that was like, wow, that's a great move, or wow, that was not? We'll see how that goes, I guess.
Um, I think the Astralis change was definitely the best. I think adding Forest and Colo as a coach, I think that's gonna benefit them a lot. I think Astralis is gonna go from like what ninth, eighth place that they got
Hmm.
to definitely a contender to top four.
From what I understand, Forrest is IGLing on Astralis, or he's going to play like that breach
I have no
role.
idea.
Yeah, I'm curious. That's actually what I was going to ask you. Is I'm curious to know the roles there. Because I agree. I do think Forrest is a good player. I'm just not saying you can't do it, but just very interested to see Forrest on breach for IGL because to me he's always been more of like a kind of like a maniac kind of player.
Yeah,
So I don't
I
know if
feel
that's
that.
just going to mean that their team plays like pretty crazy, or if it's going to be like a little learning curve for them. Uh,
Mm,
I think it'll be interesting at least.
is he on breach for sure? I did
That's what
scrimmage,
I
but I don't
heard.
remember.
I mean, that's what I heard. I don't know who else would be on breach for the team, to be honest, because
Yeah, it would have to
DP,
be him, right?
yeah, DP's entry, Iconic's not going to be breach. J9's
Jack
not
is
going to
not
be
gonna breach.
breach. In
Shuttle,
Shuttle, I don't. I
probably
mean,
not.
Shuttle's probably going to go back to flank watch, I would assume, because he's just generally way more effective on that role than the breach. I
Mhm.
think, like process of elimination, I kind of think he has to be, which will
Yeah,
be interesting.
I think Forrest could learn how to play breach, and like he's a really smart player, so I think working around his team there, it might work. I honestly think it might work.
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly not saying it can't. I just think it's
Hmm.
a,
It's kind of weird.
it's definitely weird to see Forrest like on the breach. I'm curious,
Yeah.
like, I don't know if that means they're just going to be like absolutely just maniacs on attack or what, but because interestingly enough, Astralis were also one of the higher ranking attack teams last year. They were just pretty poor on
Nice.
defense. Yeah.
Mm.
Um. So just going real quick back to kind of your and we're kind of jumping around here.
Hmm.
And your pre pro league days on in CL, you were teaming with who was it? It was like was it Beastly?
My last team was Jolton, Beasley, Wimpy, and Diaz on the
and
Favela's.
and now Wimpy obviously is kind of getting that chance to see what he can do in pro league because he's kind of been. I thought it was very interesting with Wimpy where he was a standout performer in Challenger League for like several years, and then last stage in Challenger League he did like horrible, and now he's finally getting like a chance in pro league after doing like awful.
I guess
Uh,
I just gotta do horrible to get
w-
picked up.
yeah, I know it's been about a year or so since he played with Wimpy, but what? How do you think he'll do in pro league?
I think like 1P might be. I think he is honestly a really good fit for that team. He's only playing with that team for one stage, so like
Supposedly, but I do feel like that's like a weird arrangement. Like we're gonna pick you up for one stage only.
yeah, if he like does really good, then I mean they're
Yeah,
probably gonna keep him
that's what I was
and
thinking.
drop someone else for Blast. Probably. I don't know. I don't know how that's gonna work. But I think I honestly think he's gonna do good. I think Wimpy is a solid player who can like in the right environment do like really good and perform. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I think Parabellum's another team like we kind of talked about earlier, but as Spirits was kind of taken from them, and also we know Melted left for Mirage. They're kind of the biggest question mark to me because I think people had pretty high expectations for them going into NA with that roster, and then it was kind of like torn to shreds. And now it seems like a little bit of a rebuild while they wait for Blaz from Europe to get here. So I think they're going to be very interesting. And yeah, I don't think there's really much else to talk about. I feel like we covered XSet, we covered OXG, talked about NA a little bit. Was there anything that you wanted to say? Anything you wanted to touch on, or you feel like you kind of said what you needed to say?
I feel like Jolton should be in Pro League by now.
Yeah, that was like I didn't want to say that because it was going to be like a big controversy, but I was going to say right now that I think you step down and give Jolton your spot, and then XSet will truly be the ultimate friendship team. Because what better way to prove your friendship than to sacrifice yourself for a friend? Think about that.
Sure.
If I see an announcement after this podcast of you stepping down for Jolton, I want to be credited in it.
It might be too late. Transfer window's already closed, but stage 1. After stage 1.
Yeah. So
Nice.
be on the lookout. After stage 1, Kyno steps down from XSet, Jolton to XSet, learning Portuguese as we speak. Oh, your team is not going to be speaking Portuguese, right?
No.
And I guess related to that, I know Bodega is from Brazil, but he's pretty English fluent, obviously.
Yeah.
So it's not a
lived
problem
in
there.
New York for a few years. So he speaks English.
Okay, that's then no issues there. Do you think? So with Bodega, obviously on Twitter, he's interesting, and for anybody who remembers when he was coaching like MIBR at Invite, he was like dancing behind the players and like he's like praising Jesus and stuff. Like, is he a bit of a character, or is that kind of just like is he more serious, I guess, behind the scenes than what I guess you kind of see in those instances?
He's definitely a serious guy behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely want us to be the best.
Yeah.
So that's good. That's pretty good. But he said he's gonna be doing the same thing on stage. I don't know what he's gonna do. I'm not ready for it.
I have heard a rumor, and you're gonna say this isn't true, but we'll have our eyes on you. That Bodega wants to like teach people hand signals and stuff, so he can like signal to you guys and help like
what to do?
Yeah, like help call stuff in the game, and that he like and that he was helping like make calls during practice. Is there any truth to this?
Which sounds absurd.
Okay, well we've got if he's like
So yeah, pay attention. If he starts making signs,
yeah, we're throwing the flag if we see anything suspicious. Yep.
You can protest.
Yeah, so I think the last question I have is when Bodega said on Twitter that you guys were going to beat us this stage, how do you feel about that? Are you coming for blood?
I guess. I mean, yeah, we're going for the win, of course, but like,
Mm-hmm.
are we gonna beat you?
No, it wasn't a question. Bodega stated that you would beat us.
So yeah, so I told him to chill after every tweet he was making. Like I was tagging him in the group chat. I was like,
He
for the
blocked
love
me.
of
He
God,
blocked
you
me
gotta
on
chill.
Twitter. He blocked me.
Literally every day for like an entire week, I was waking up to something Bodega saying on Twitter. Like I was like, come on, man. Like, we got the Brazilian support. Everybody loves us. You know, like, gonna do that to us? Come on.
He blocked me on Twitter because of when I said on my stream that you said that you thought that OXG or that XSet had a better chance of winning than OXG. And then
Like when you like talk about my DM or whatever.
yeah, he blocked me and said that I was a liar. But then you said that again here. And you said that to
yeah,
me.
I guess.
You
Yeah.
said that to me. Do you deny saying that to me?
I mean, there is some like context behind it. I don't think like if you just say like, oh, XSet has a better chance than winning than OXG, that like off out of context, like that sounds weird. I think
I don't
like
really think so because no.
I think long term we have a better chance of winning.
Right, but you also said on this podcast that you don't think OXG can win.
Now with myself and Yog.
Okay.
Maybe I said maybe Newers and Dream they might win something.
But XSet can win with you and Yog.
I think long term we're probably gonna be able to like contest for a title. Hopefully.
So does that mean that you think Diaz, Gomez, and Spirits are better than Laxing, Fox, and Vert?
Oh man. I mean, that's not really what I said, but
well, you're saying one team can win, but the other can't with you two. So the only difference is those three.
I don't think it's the players who make the team. You know, it's how you act and how you play. I don't think it's how. I don't think it's the player. I think it's how you play.
Mm-hmm. And Lax, Fox, and Vert just don't play right. That's what you've heard it here first.
Okay.
Kyno says Lax, Vert, and Fox don't know what the fuck they're doing. XSet's about to show them.
I guess that's what I said. It's out there now.
Okay, I think we'll stop it there. Got a lot out of the way. I'm sure you have practice a little bit. So thank you for joining me, Kyno. I appreciate the opportunity. This was fun, and I think you handled yourself pretty well. So I will see you guys next week. Not sure who the guest is going to be. Maybe I'll talk to myself after this episode. But yeah. So see you guys later. Thanks for hanging out.
Thank you.
Yep. Bye.